Why is calorie counting crazy? Well, firstly, you could have two foods. They could both be 500 calories of each. Say like green veg versus donuts. They're both 500 calories. So in theory, you could eat a certain amount of them and lose weight. Okay, as long as you stick within a certain calorie content. But the issue is that they both send very different signals to the body. So 500 calories of green veg, for example, that's a lot of green veg. That's going to fill you up, a lot of good fibre in there to bulk you out, and it's going to allow you to function well, and it's going to keep your hormones balanced as well. Versus that 500 calories of donuts, that's probably one donut. I don't really know. So if we got in a jiffy, I'm sure. It might satisfy you initially, but what it's going to do is it's going to increase your cravings after, like for your subsequent meal. It's going to end up with a low energy and tiredness, maybe about 45 minutes to an hour later, probably going to fall asleep. And it's going to unbalance your hormones as well. Did anybody see the programme in Horizon last week? It was low fat versus low carb, yeah. And at the end, they had a donut, and it was the most addictive donut. And the reason was because it was almost exactly 50% sugar and 50% manufactured processed fats. So that was the most addictive thing. Did we see that? Yeah. So just as a wee sideline there. So it could be the same calories but totally different nutrients. So my advice would be to read the label generally. If you don't recognise the words in the back of a packet, it's like a foreign language, you can't pronounce them, then it's probably not going to be very beneficial to your body. Secondly, by counting calories, it assumes that everybody's metabolism is the same as well. But that's simply not going to be the case. Couple of reasons. It's going to be dependent on your muscle, how much muscle you've got. The more muscle you've got, the higher your metabolism is going to be. And it can also be dependent on your health status as well. We saw one of our members, Fiona, earlier on with her thyroid condition as well. So that's going to affect your metabolism too. So it's not really taking that into account if you're just doing calories in versus calories out. Thirdly, it also assumes that all foods are digested the same way as well. But if you get something which is a kind of high protein food, like let's just say like a sirloin steak, versus something which is like high kind of carb, like pasta. Okay, the protein, to physically digest it, is going to burn more calories. So they both might be 100 calories to start off with, but the protein could take 30 calories to actually, like, the process of breaking that down and everything, versus the pasta might only take 95 calories as well. So it's not really taking into account that foods are digested a bit differently as well. Okay. Also, I think that counting them, and this maybe goes for Weight Watchers, are great in a lot of ways. They're not successful they're not still here and successful because they get things wrong, but you could liken this to points as well. It could make you slightly neurotic, this kind of constantly counting and living your life that way makes you feel like you are on a diet as well. And then I've got 6 other ones here. These are going to seem like a little bit anal in a way, but if you add all these up, then it's going to account for a lot. So this came from that guy, Dr. John Berardi. He highlights that you've got outdated data on the calorie content of foods. You've also got product variety as well for the same food. It can be dependent. The calorie content of food can be dependent on soil and growing conditions, the ripeness of the food at harvest. If you're eating meat, then it comes down to the animal's diet, the time that the food's been stored for, the preparation and cooking method as well. If you also add in that people are going to digest and absorb things differently as well, then you're not really going to know the exact amount of energy and number of calories that is actually usable to you. Plus, if you then add exercise into the bargain, there's even more variability there, because measuring calorie output through exercise is even harder than measuring the calorie intake through food. Okay, so what Dr. Berardi basically said is that can actually equate to an error margin, getting a bit mathematical here, but plus or minus 25%. So basically means you might be thinking you're counting your calories in versus calories out, what they talk about in BBC Breakfast News all the time. Surely it's that simple. But you could end up with being out by as much as 500 or 600 calories a day if you add all these things up. Okay, so there's a lot of variability there. So this is coming from Dr. John Berardi. Calorie counting is a way to manage your diet and exercise. It's time consuming, difficult, and grossly inaccurate. So it's fair to say the guys that haven't been here before, we don't count we don't count calories. Okay, it's not something I buy into. Okay, for those